Hi, I'm LadyJenevia. Welcome to my spoiler-free review of Dickinson Episode 6. I actually wrote this review on the day Episode 4 aired, and I was acting up on Twitter a lot. But I was getting nice feedback on YouTube about including a song when I do my spoiler-free reviews, and I've also gotten nice feedback over the course of me doing these reviews in general about not giving away the big spoilers early. I would never want to do that because it ruins the fun. These videos are mostly just for the stans that want a little something extra to mull them over before the next episode airs. I can do that. No problem. Episode 6 is called Split the Lark, and I was lurking on Twitter, as I always do on Dickinson premiere day, and saw on some fan pages that the Dickinson showrunner, Elena Smith, had said that Episode 6 is one of her favorite reviews, and I can definitely see why she feels that way. Also, in a very general sense, I am very excited that we're getting into the second half of the season because this is when a lot of things start to escalate. A lot of the big moments that have been teased in promo are in the second half. And a lot of big moments that have not been teased in the promo because of spoilers are also in the second half. I think a lot of the things that I've seen stan accounts posting about wanting to see the most when judging from the clips and images from the first trailer and the featurette were all from episodes 6 through 10, with the exception of the library scene in episode 1. You know, that forehead to forehead moment I've seen some stans make into their profile photo or their Twitter header? When the first press embargo dropped for reviews of season 2, I saw on stan Twitter that some information about episode 6, Split the Lark, had been shared already. Arguably more information than I would have thought was acceptable to talk about, but hey, if it drums up the hype, I guess it's okay. I also think bigger outlets in general just get away with more than smaller channels like myself. This is the episode where our ensemble unleashes their inner Marx brothers and have a night at the opera. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been sharing a song early in my spoiler-free reviews. Music has always been very integral to the storytelling on Dickinson as a show, but this week I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I actually feel uniquely qualified to talk about this because, among other things, my mom is an opera singer, so I'm a bit more familiar with the medium than your average bear. The opera that they are going to see in this episode is La Traviata. Now, they don't explain the plot of La Traviata in this episode. They mention one or two details in passing. They use some of the music, but the opera is in Italian, so unless you know Italian, particularly old Italian, it's not like you're going to know what's really going on in that story. And I do think that it is important to know a general overview of the plot of La Traviata because if you don't know it, I think you are missing some of the layers and dimensions that I was able to appreciate about the episode's material as someone who does know the plot of La Traviata. I'm going to talk more about what I mean by this in detail in next week's spoiler review. I don't think you have to know La Traviata to follow the episode's plot, but if we're here to geek out and analyze the material more in depth, then let's go in depth. So, La Traviata is an Italian opera by Verdi that is based on a famous French novel and play called La Dame aux Camélias. I don't want to over-explain the plot right now because I don't think you need a meticulous play-by-play of what happens in the story for a spoiler-free review of this episode. This original French story isn't just famous in France, Italy, or even Europe. It has had a lot of staying power in the arts, so much so that there is an adaptation of it that I think most of you will be familiar with, a camp movie musical called Moulin Rouge, starring Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman played a character named Satine. In La Traviata, her name is Violetta. Ewan McGregor played a character called Christian, and in La Traviata, his name is Alfredo. The basic plot of Moulin Rouge is very similar to La Traviata. You have an expensive, high-class escort, a courtesan, if you will, and a doe-eyed man that falls in love with her, and she ends up falling in love with him too, even if she's not into him at first. There are misunderstandings, there's another man that's interested in her, a dramatic falling out between the two where money is thrown, and they reconcile just in time for her to die from consumption. If you didn't already know, that's an old-timey way of saying tuberculosis. If you've never been to the opera, it can be a very powerful experience when done well. I can be a bit particular about what type of operatic voice I like to listen to, but I won't bore you with my yays and nays of opera singers from the 80s and 90s and noughties. When you have a well-trained opera singer, their voice is very powerful. This is coming from classical training. A lot of operas, including La Traviata, are tragedies. They usually end with someone dying. It's often experienced like an emotional gut punch. Not the best thing for depression, by the way, but all of my favorite operas are not the tragic ones. My top 3 operas are Die Fledermaus, Le Nozze di Figaro, and Così fan tutte, but that's besides the point. Literally nobody asked me that, but I'm sharing it anyway. I promise you I'm not explaining all of this for no reason. I am going to talk about this opera in my spoiler review. So the TLDR is that La Traviata's story is a more old-timey, bougie version of Moulin Rouge. Think drama, think an emotional gut punch, but we will put a tab on this and circle back around to it next week. I won't give away any big plot spoilers for this Dickinson episode, but if I speak in a more open-ended sense, most of, if not all of these episodes in the second half are going to have really big moments or incidents, things that make the audience have a strong reaction emotionally. The type of emotions that are provoked can vary, but this episode will definitely be one to provoke a lot of strong emotions in the audience. There's a lot of things in the material to analyze if you're into that sort of thing. Over the past few weeks, I've definitely been doing that in my spoiler reviews, talking about these different concepts that have to do with the different facets of being an artist, the creative process, writer's block, maintaining your creative voice when you have to make art professionally. Episode 6 definitely continues that trend of having these really interesting concepts you can take away from watching it. I like that Dickinson works on these different levels. You have the very obvious emotional part of viewing where you have your characters that you're invested in, so you want to see what happens in their story. What are they doing? How are they feeling? But Dickinson also offers that intellectual component as well, where you can analyze the material and what it is saying about a particular facet of being an artist. Also, once again, there was more material I needed to write down on my list that I've been keeping of stuff that you don't realize means something more than what you think it does until you've already seen the entire season. It's getting to be a fairly long list, I have to be honest. I have stuff I need to bring back up from episodes 1, 4, 5, and now 6. Maybe there was more that I forgot to write down in these episodes, but I don't know whether it's funny or ridiculous just how tight the Dickinson writers have kept this season. Sorry if any of you were wanting another contemporary pop song to take away from this review to add to your playlists before next week's episode airs, but I think that my time is better spent prepping you, the people who have been keeping up with my Dickinson reviews, on La Traviata, so that next week, when we talk about this episode in depth, I don't have to stop and do a big history lesson on La Traviata, since there's already more that I'm going to be adding on what I've already talked about in this video. If I didn't think it was important to the points I want to discuss next week, I would not be talking about it as much as I am. I'm going to leave it there for now. I know it's another short video, but oh boy, do I have a lot to say about this episode. We will get into all of it next week. Get ready for drama, get ready for an emotional roller coaster, and get ready for music. This is one of Elena Smith's favorite episodes, and you will completely understand why, when you see it, you're going to feel it deeply. And if you are new here, I will put a link to a playlist of my Dickinson reviews along with some of my other content you can check out. Don't forget to like and comment, because engagement is essential for small creators like myself to get more exposure on the platform that is YouTube. You can also follow my social media accounts. Everything is in the description box. Twitter is definitely the main one that I use most frequently, particularly about Dickinson. I'm trying to be better about posting about the show on air days, so when you're watching this video, I am probably posting some shenanigans about episode 5 because it just aired, and the stans are probably having a meltdown about what happened at the end of the episode. Oh, don't laugh, don't laugh. Also, if all you want to know about episode 6 is if Emily and Sue will have any interactions in this episode, since I know that people were concerned about this particular aspect after they didn't have any interactions in episode 4, this is a question I can't answer. Do Emily and Sue interact in episode 6? Yes. Subscribe if you've made it this far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!